Good afternoon, Old Gun Guy here. Welcome to my fourth video in the series I've done here. Battle rifles that served in both World Wars. And the last of this installment is going to be this Mauser 98K. And the K stands for Carabiner or Kurtz, short. But I'll go into the rifle in a minute. The cartridge it fires is the 7.92 by 57, commonly called the 8mm Mauser. Case is 57 millimeters long, 8mm bullet, 323 thousandths of an inch. The standard rifling twist for these guns and for this caliber is 1 and 9.5 inches, roughly. I think 9.45 inches to be exact. But it'll stabilize heavy bullets with a rifling twist that fast. This is Romanian produced ammo from, I don't know, the last decade. Steel cased, Berdan prime, non-reloadable, so I'll be using this. The bullet's heavier than the German 154 grain, World War II loading. This is 170 grain, full metal jacket. All these videos here are long form, so I try and make them short, but when you add the history and the things you're trying to fit in, and the shooting demonstrations, they stretch out to about an hour. So they all follow the same format: introduction, history, demonstration here. The middle part, all the shooting tests, chronograph, accuracy target, steel plates, ballistic pendulums, shooting the various rounds against the 223. Comparative recoil, 223 versus whatever rifle I'm shooting. And then the third part is the summary, observations, targets, go over the ballistic data, and that's how they work. If you want to fast forward through them, that's how they all run, so you can do that. The 8mm Mauser is descended from the 7mm Mauser. That was the first, the German Mauser, the Mauser company, at the dawn of the smokeless powder age, the very end of the 1880s, the early 1890s, the 19th century, they were developing smokeless powder cartridges. And two of the first ones were the 7mm Mauser, 7 by 57, and the 7.65 by 53. It's called the Argentine Mauser, the Belgian Mauser round, but that was developed in 1889, and so was the 7mm Mauser. This came along towards the end of the 1890s. They upped the caliber 1mm, from 28 to 32. That's 7mm to 8mm. The 8mm was specifically developed for the 98 Mauser. The earlier Mausers were chambered in the small ring, or the 1893 Mauser, the 1895, and 1896 is the Swedish Mauser. Most of them were made either in Germany or under license in certain factories, across the world. But I actually have an old sporterized 1893 Mauser. I'm going to show the difference between the two bolts and the two firing systems. That's the only reason I got the hunt rifle over here on the table. It was sporterized many decades ago, but I'll go into that with the rifle. To go through the history, they had the 1888, when they first started developing a rifle. Mauser then developed the 1891, 1893 Mauser. The 1893 Mauser had two locking lugs. This is the bolt out of an 1893 Mauser. You'll see two locking lugs and the big claw extractor, but you'll see no third locking lug. And if you notice, the bottom of the bolt is flat. That's how you take an 1893 Mauser. This bolt has been turned down by the whoever sporterized it, and the safety's been modified to like a sporting type safety, which generally functions the same as the 98 Mauser. They developed that Mauser in 7.65 by 53 Belgian, the cartridge they called it. The one I have here that we'll discuss, oh, the rest of the cartridge. 1 and 9.5 inch rifling twist. The chamber pressure is, in the US, because they're very old guns, rated at 35,000 PSI as per SAMI max. And CIP in Europe is 56,000 PSI. So it's a lot more powerful than European rounds that you can get a hold of. This falls somewhere in between from prior chronographing, more towards the European spec. But if you get stuff from Winchester or Remington, it's going to be loaded to 35,000 PSI, and the velocities are a lot less. Centerfire, it's the basis, the 7mm Mauser and the 7.5 Belgian, and then the 8mm Mauser is basically the inspiration for the 30-06. You know, the 30-06 they lengthened a little, they made a 30 caliber. The Belgian Mauser is basically a 30 caliber round. But they quickly went to all pointed bullets. All these rounds started out with big round nose bullets, 220 grains. And they found that the trajectory and the performance was unacceptable, so they went to Spitzer Geschloss, spire point bullets, I guess in German. I think that's the word. But that's the cartridges where this came from. The 98Ks, Germany made 11.5 million of them during the war. Well, before the war and during the war, 10 years, 35 to 45. Over, I think, 14.6 or 14.7 million Mausers in total have been manufactured. The German Mauser factory, prior to the World Wars, was manufacturing what they call contract Mausers for different countries: Argentina, Iran, Turkey. Actually, it was the Ottoman Empire back then, before World War I. You'll see widespread variants. This is an 1893 Mauser. All right, this was sporterized. It was in rough shape when I got it, and I got it dirt cheap. I think I paid $80 for it or something. You can see the stepped barrel, and the one feature it has, and you can tell it's 1893. There's a little, I don't know if it'll show up under the scope. There's a notch in the receiver to accept the longer bullets, but that was a later modification. This is technically an 1893/33 Turkish Mauser. In 1933, they rebarreled these from 7.65 Belgium to 8mm, 7.92 by 57mm German Mauser round, and they had to cut this notch in the receiver so the rounds would fit in the magazine. This one's been sporterized by God knows who. It's like a truck gun. I leave it in my garage. It's got the sleeves on it for the rounds. Could you deer hunt with it? Yep. I never did. It's just like a knockaround gun. The price was right. All the finish was off the barrel, rust on the outside of the barrel, wood was beat up. So years ago I Duracoated it. I think I'm gonna rattle can this thing one day. The woodland camouflage. But that's how it stands. It's got the same Mauser. You take the bolt out, and the 1890, everything prior to 1898 Mausers did a different firing system. In fact, I'll just show you real quick. This Mauser cocks on closing. See, you push the forward, you see it cocking. Now it's cocked. The 98 Mausers, the complete opposite. They cock when you open the bolt. All right, this cocks on closing. You see the strike all the way out, and then boom, there you go. That's one difference. Let's see. Let me cock this again. The safety, middle position, like a 98 Mauser or the American Mauser, the 0383, is safe. All the way to the right is fire, and all the way to the left, you put this little knob on here. It's very hard to access. Actually, whatever they modified it, it's just safe and fire. In this position, you can cycle bolt, and that won't actuate you can't actuate the trigger. they put this little screw attachment here to open up the magazine and drop the rounds out. That's a sporterized thing. But since this is not a video on a 93 Mauser, it's just showing history of it. I'm going to pull a bolt out of the K98 before I do anything, just to show you quickly, because I'm going to take this other Mauser off the table. This is a 98 bolt. This is a 93 bolt. If you notice, this is round all the way around. This is flat on the bottom. They got the extractor groove cut through the lug, both of them. The 98 Mauser has the third safety lug, like the American Mauser has the third safety lug. This has none. Those are your basic main features. And this bolt is shorter. It was, originally designed for a different round. That's why I cut a notch in receiver and I converted it. I'm going to go over the features. So to put the bolt back in this. The 98K. Let me move this aside. Put this over there. There we go. All right, front to back. You get the muzzle. The cleaning rod is below the barrel. This is the slot for the bayonet. The earlier variants had no hood over the. And this camera does that sometimes, just shuts off. As I said, this is a hooded front sight post. Two functions: one to protect the front sight, and the second is to reduce glare. Blowing all the stocks on the 98Ks, wood stock, they're all laminated, plywood type stocks. After about 1936 or 7, they implemented that. They found them to resist the weather and warping in adverse conditions. 23.5-inch barrel, 4 lands and grooves, right hand twist, 1 and 9.5-inch rifling twist. Cleaning rod, bayonet mount. This is front barrel band. This is the tangent sighting system. I think the Germans call it a roller coaster. It's kind of curved. It's graduated in meters all the way out to 2,000 meters. It's better than the Mosin sights, but not by much. Little small, V-notch at the back of the sight tower. And obviously, if you put it up to 2,000 meters for volley fire, which wasn't really needed in the Second World War, but I guess they couldn't get over that. All the Mauser barrels are stepped, like they narrow down. This is a large ring receiver. All the 98s are called large ring Mausers. 1.4 inches across, in diameter of the front receiver ring. 1.410 to be exact, and 1.3 inches for the small ring Mauser, which the 1893 is. You get to the chamber, you have the markings. It's got the Nazi-era Waffen knobs on this. This rifle I acquired from a guy who used to be in my shooting club. He was a good guy, from like about 30 years ago. World War II vet. He was in Patton's Third Army, and he got this, brought it back in his duffel bag, along with a Luger. The Luger he gave to his son, but his son didn't want this, but I wanted it. It's a nice gun. Historic gun. He took it off a 15 or 16-year-old kid, at the end of the war in Patton's Third Army. In fact, one of the units within Patton's Third Army, the 6th Armored Division, liberated Buchenwald, a concentration camp. And that's an important feature because this rifle was made in Gustloff-Werke, right next to the Buchenwald concentration camp. And obviously, the whole factory was staffed with slave labor from the concentration camps, assembling these rifles and building these rifles. Let me finish going over. It's 5-shot magazine, stripper clip guide, internal box magazine. And the last shot, it prevents a bolt from going forward, so you know you're empty. It's got this little cutout groove in the stock for your for the bolt handle, and because the bolt handles on the 98Ks are turned down. The earlier pre-World War I variants and the World War I variants had straight bolt handles and much longer barrels, almost 30-inch barrels, and they weighed about another pound and change. This weighs almost 9 pounds. The Gewehr 98, the rifle 98, this is the K98, the Carabiner. But they found that the long barrel is unwieldy, and this was a product improvement. The bluing is nice on this gun. This gun was in real nice shape. Like you said, he took it off of a 14-year-old, 15-year-old kid, and I don't think it saw combat. The kid was happy to surrender and come back with him, and now I got it. Just like the 03, I think I should demonstrate the 03 film, the Mauser safety. That's fire. That's safe, but you can cycle a bolt, empty the gun. That locks the bolt and disconnects the trigger. So, disconnects, so you can open the bolt. All the way to the right, can't open the bolt. All the way to the left is fire. Nice beechwood, well, I don't know if it's a beechwood, but it's laminated stock. This ring in the rear is the bolt takedown tool to take the firing pin out of the bolt. So you can compress the spring. The magazine floor plate does not drop. Let's get this old sling on it here. Balance is nice, a little heavy. Trigger pull's pretty heavy on this, about 8 pounds. And is about, let's see here. I'm gonna say a good half-inch of creep, half-inch of slack before you get to the trigger. A lot more than the other rifles. The 0383 has a nicer trigger of all the rifles I've shot, well, displayed here. I'll pull the trigger pull gauge. Do this so you can see how much the trigger goes back before you reach the wall. See that? All right, she broke at 8 pounds on the money, so a little bit of slop and then 8-pound lid off. The Gustloff-Werke, where this was made, was named after William Gustloff. He was a Nazi party official who was assassinated, and they named the works after him. But the factory made wagon parts, tools, implements, stuff like that. It was owned by Jewish people. In the 30s, they had their factory confiscated, and God only knows what happened to them. They may have been murdered in a concentration camp, or they may be forced to work in a factory. But when the Germans were secretly rearming, violation of the Versailles Treaty from the First World War, they were assembling rifles and artillery rounds and everything in the factory. They manufactured some of the parts. Most of the parts were made by subcontractors on these Gustloff-Werke rifles. And the code is BCD on the receiver. And I believe this one was made in 44. Yeah, I remember doing the research. I think it's 1944, well, late 43 or early 44. They had subcontractors building various parts, and they would come together in the factory, and the slave labor force, the evil empire there, forced them to build these rifles. And the quality varies. This one's actually in pretty good shape. I think it just came out of the factory and might have been test fired, and that was it. And my old friend there, the World War II guy, Third Army, Patton's Third Army, I think he was a tanker. I think he was a tanker. But he captured this, bring back. A lot of rifles come back from World War II. And like all Mausers, a lot of them were sporterized. They turned them into hunt rifles. This wasn't in the, well, it was a 93 version, but that's the basic thing. A lot of them were, had the stocks chopped down and finished. The cleaning rods under the barrel, heavy trigger pull, and the sights are not really that good. We're gonna, when we do my test firing of it. Plus they're forward. The shorter the sight radius, the more room for error, sighting error. This rifle always shoots high. At 100 yards, it's a foot high. last time I shot it, that's what I remember. And I think there was a feature that they built into the sight system, I'm not sure. But the bluing's nice, the wood's nice. It's a nice old artifact of history here. The this rifle is still on battlefields today. In Iraq, U.S. servicemen encountered these and were shot at, just like they were with the Mosin. 14.5 million made in various contracts. And probably the most prolific one is the 8mm Mauser version. The Israelis, in the formation of their country, this was one of their service rifles, captured German World War II rifles they used in the 1948 war. This has all the German, here's Waffenamt, Army Weapons Ordnance stamps. They're basically an eagle with the little Nazi swastika in its talons. And a few years back I had a Russian capture one, K98. It was a good shooter. I sold it, actually made a few bucks on it. But it had drill marks with a Waffenamt, so the little divots taken out, they ground them all out. The German Bundeswehr uses these still today in parades, like U.S. military would use, well, they used to use the 03A3s, in parades, but they still use these, and I think in the 90s or up into the 2000s, they still had the Nazi markings on them, Nazi era markings, and there was a big uproar, and they had to remove the markings to use the rifles, in the parades, as it should be. It's if you're going to do that in a modern setting, yeah, you're going to have to. If you're talking about history or historical arm, you should leave it as it is. History's history. Took part in the most destructive war, like all them rifles did. The two most destructive wars, really. 20 million in the first and 70 million in the second. It's 90 million people. And then plus other people had shortened lives after the stress they suffered from going through that. I'm going to take this and do the shooting tests. I'm going to use mostly this Romanian 170 grain, what it was intended to fire, steel case stuff. All the World War II stuff's corrosive. And I did shoot some World War II stuff to this once, but you gotta really, really clean the crap out of the barrel. Hot soapy water. It's messy. And I ran and I wrecked the barrel because it's in really good shape. Not as good a shape as the French rifles. Never fired and only dropped once. That's the old joke, right? The cleaning rod threads into the, there's a receptacle inside the receiver here, and comes out. Do the chronograph, do the comparative recoil, the ballistic pendulums, the accuracy target, 100 yards. If I shoot into a good enough group, I'll try it with the sights at the 220 yard plate. I'll shoot some plates offhand and a thermal effects test. I'll come back for a summary. The American Mauser, it's got better sights and a better trigger, and it shoots a lot better. This is smooth bolt. They both have the same smooth bolt, but the downside to this gun is the sights. And the trigger. Trigger's heavy and it's got a lot of slop. I don't know if that shows up. A lot of slop. Yeah, I cock it. There's a good, over ½ inch of take up before you hit the trigger. That might be intentional. I guess some troops unintentionally discharging these guns. But that's it. We'll get to the shooting. Okay, I'm gonna do the chronograph test. I'm gonna do 2 shots each. The 154 grain, 170 grain full metal jacket, steel case stuff, and this Yugoslavian 198 grain full metal jacket. And I'm gonna load in the Yugoslavian first, and then the steel case stuff last. So the first 2 shots will be the Romanian ammo, and the second 2 shots will be the Yugoslavian ammo. So let me start the camera on the chrono, and I'll load the rifle. Alright, Carabina 98. 1, 2, and then the steel. 5-shot magazine. Put my ears on. Yeah, straight kind of grab that. Yeah, the wind's blowing pretty good today. $26.26. $24.52. Change the string. Alright, this is the brass case Yugoslavian heavy ball. $2,145. $2,116, and I'll do the energy figures later on in the summary, and that'll be our 4 shots with our K98 Mauser. Ballistic performance there. Okay. $26.26. Change the string. Alright, this is the brass case Yugoslavian heavy ball. $2,145. $116, and I'll do the energy figures later on in the summary. Okay, I'm back. Got the other camera on the 100-yard target. I'm gonna load 5 of this steel cased 170 grain Romanian stuff. It's probably the closest I got that would approximate German World War II. And the temperatures dropped here quite a bit in the last hour. So, load the gun. I have stripper clips for this too, but I just I gotta go look for them. But be that as it may, on and do 5 shots. 2, 3. I'm gonna use a 6 o'clock hold and see what I can do with these little V-notch sights. All right, put my ears on. There's a wind's blowing out here. Get that off my neck. Okay. Sometimes that steel stuff hangs up like that. Not like brass. Not like the camming action of a Mauser. Get a sticky case. Sometimes these steel cases do hang up. All right, let's pause this camera. Okay, pretty tight group, but I was aiming at the bottom of the 6 o'clock of the bull, and the 2 shots are in the head. There's only 3 hits on the paper to roll up around the head, so it's shooting about 18 inches high, and I think that translates to like 300 or 400 meters. You know, 0. Even though this is on a smaller setting. I actually had on 200 meters. I'm going to try 3 more shots and see if it comes down a little bit. I'm going to aim actually under the target itself, the dipstick target, and try and put them in the bull. I'll just do 3 more shots. Okay. Just throw my glove back on. The V-notch is hard to use, but it's not as bad as the Moistens. Aiming at the bottom edge of the paper. Okay. Let me pause this and go up and check. I'm going to do a 6 o'clock hold. I believe the gun shoots high. Oh, slipping on the ice here. The temperature dropped to about 20 degrees in the last hour, so I had to put my hunting clothes on. Zoom the camera in and go back to the bench and take the shots. Okay. Aiming there, you see how high the sights are. Maybe that group is pretty good, but that's where I was aiming. So I'm going to say 18 inches high at 100 yards. I think even at the bottom setting, they're really zeroed for like 300 or 400 meters. That would be about 400 meters. So I'm gonna go back and take a few more shots. I'm gonna aim below the target and see if I hit in the black. Let me go do that. Okay, I actually had the sight to the 200 meters, but I was aiming here to hit here. So 3 shots at here. It did feel like pulled one, but it's hard aiming at nothing. You know, at least aiming here, you have a hold. So I'm gonna go back and try the 200-yard plate, 220-yard plate. 200 meters. Let me close this one up, take the target back. Alright, that's recording. Put my gloves on. If I don't hit it with 2 shots, I'm gonna not waste the ammo. Because like I said, the sights are way off. I think even at 100, the Germans like sighted them at 300. You know, 100 is actually 300. But the last time I shot this, I remember it shoots very high. And the sights ain't the best in the world, but I noticed the gun shooting high. Any shot this person is me. Okay, I got 3 in here actually. Let's give it a shot. Bottom of the plate. Trying to guess where to aim. Nope. One more. Oh yeah. I had to aim, it's hard to judge, a foot below that plate to hit it, but I did hit it. Okay, ballistic pendulum energy test, center plate 223, 24-inch Savage axis, the sticker bushes there. The right plate, the 7.92 by 57 Mauser. I loaded the Mauser with a soft point. I'm trying to guess, you know, hitting the bottom of the plate. I'll aim just below it, or just at the very edge of the bottom. If I don't hit it, I'm not going to repeat it because I'm just guessing, and I don't be spending rounds needlessly. Let me get the rifles and we'll get to it. All right. A lot more energy by the 7.92 by 57 Mauser over the 223. Same result as all the battle rifle cartridges. I use a soft point because I'm shooting from like 25 yards away, and them FNJs, I don't want any spool coming back at me, even though I'm on an angle. You see the spool cutting into the tree. So I'm going to do the comparative recoil test with the other camera on the overall scene. I'm just going to do the 50-yard torso plate. I'll aim at that because I can aim at the bottom edge and hit it with the Mauser. All right, on to the next. demonstration. Okay, comparative recoil, 223 Savage axis. I'm gonna just shoot the 50-yard torso plate. I got the other camera zoomed in on. And then I got two shots left in the Mauser. I'm gonna do one just to recoil, and the other one I'll take a stab at the plate from here. It's about 200 yards before the light goes. I'm just guessing where to hold. Nothing. I'm shooting a BB gun. Now the Mauser. I hold the bottom of the plate to hit it. Recoil's not bad out of a 9-pound rifle. It does have a heavy steel butt plate. I think it was designed for caving somebody's head in. I'm going to take a stab at the 200-yard plate. I hit it, I don't. Let me zoom the other camera in. Alright. The light is rapidly fading. I'll take a shot at it. Nah, missed it. That'll be it for our comparative recoil test. Be doing the terminal effects next. That'll probably be on a different day. It's too dark now. Okay, I got 5 in a rifle. I'm just gonna shoot offhand. Just to show the rifle cycling. This shoots so way high, I'm gonna aim below the plates, and if I hit them, I hit them. I'm just guessing on where to, where to accomplish that. I'll try to 50 to 100 yards. 5 shots. There's a torso. Let's see the 100-yard. Hit the rock in front of it. Try a little square plate at about 80. Below that. Try it on the money. And do one more than torso. That's all 5 shots offhand. Show the gun cycling. If I could adjust his sights to dead on for 100 meters, I would, but being it's a historic artifact, I'll leave it be. I gotta mess with the front sight post. On to my next demonstration. Rifle cycling. This shoots so way high, I'm gonna aim below the plates, and if I hit them, I hit them. Just guessing on where to accomplish that. I'll try to 50 to 100 yards. 5 shots. Torso. Let's see the 100-yard. Hit the rock in front of it. Try a little square plate at about 80. Below that. Try it on the money. Do one more in the torso. That's all 5 shots offhand. Show the gun cycling. If I could adjust this sight. Okay, back here for my terminal effects test. It's 22 degrees out, and the snow's going to start in about a half hour, according to the weather. So you get this done pretty quick. Analog for a human or animal. 6 inches water. There's a clean piece of plywood. I numbered all the jugs. I got 5 jugs there. Second jug, witness board, what's left over from the 06 test at Springfield, blew the side of it off. Third water jug, fresh piece of witness board, 4th water jug, backed up by plywood. See if I can capture the projectile. I'm going to set this camera back out of harm's way, and I get the other one running, and take the shot and see what we capture. It should be out of harm's way. All right, I'm gonna pause this camera while I clean the mess up, do the autopsy. So let me do that now. Okay, gonna do the autopsy. Did not recover the projectile. It immediately started flipping, that's apparent. Let me get the first jug. Went in here somewhere and blew apart the jug number one. First piece of plywood entered there. Exited there, it's starting to tumble. Second jug, I think that's the projectile coming apart. That big entrance hole there, blown into it. So it's obviously the bullet's going sideways. Dumping its energy along the way. The witness board, between 2 and 3, obviously the projectile's full sideways, flipping end over end. Looks like it's intact though. Third water jug, it entered, I can't figure out where it entered, and I think on the same side. I think it hit here sideways, ripped out, and went off to the right. Fourth water jug is untouched, and the plywood's untouched. Projectile went off to the right, and you can see the trajectory along the path there. Obviously it would have a very good wounding effect flipping like that and tumbling, but that just shows you, graphic form, easy to reproduce. A full metal jacket rifle rounds generally do when they strike anything denser than air, they start flipping. So with that, before the snow starts, my hands freeze up, go in for the summary. Welcome back. This is the summary for the fourth rifle in this little series here on battle rifles of both World Wars. And all four served in both World Wars, 1 and 2, and numerous other conflicts. This is the K98 Mauser, or 98K Mauser, Carabiner, or Kurtz, however you want to put it. The Mauser action, the 98 action, is extremely good action. That's where the Americans copied it in the American Mauser, the 0383. The only downside to this rifle is the sights. If I had a receiver mounted scope on this thing, it'd be a tack driver, because it tack drives when I can connect, but the sights are so far off. It shoots 14 to 18 inches high at 100 yards. The shooting, when I was doing it, I had to kind of guess at a hold to try and hit the paper. But I'll go into that in a minute. Did the chronograph, and actually the snow started. I just got done with the terminal effects, and I ran in here to do the summary, and the snow starts. I had snow and then a rainstorm and snowstorm, and it's snowing now, but and super cold weather. The Romanian 170 grain steel full metal jacket ammo, this stuff here, it kind of closely approximates the German World War II stuff, but it's heavier bullet, so the velocity is a little less. The German 154 World War II loading was about 2,850 feet a second. It's kind of erratic. Some of the rounds are hot and some of them are, you know, just standard pressure, but because I had sticky extraction, as you see in the video, you know, off the shooting bench there. 170 grain full metal jacket, the average velocity was 2,539 feet a second. However, between just the two shots because I fired to, there's 174 feet per second difference, which is a very quite a bit. One shot was 2452, and the other one was 2626. But the energy was 2,434 feet a second. So that's up in the World War II power range. Like I said, it's a heavier projectile. I ran 2 shots of the Yugoslavian 198 grain heavy ball. This stuff here. Velocity averaged 2,116 feet a second, and the energy was 1,969 feet a second. And this is 198 grain full metal jacket projectile, 200 grain projectile. I just did it to run across the chronographs. I used for all the shooting demonstrations and tests was this Romanian stuff, and you know, it's not reloadable, so I don't care about spewing the cases all over the place. Of the 4 battle rifles, power-wise, if you're talking about World War II loading, the ammunition brought into the United States, and I'm sure this is kept at 35,000 PSI. You know, Sammy for the 8mm Mauser is underpowered from its, you know, true loading. You know, the 98 was designed to handle, you know, higher pressures and heavier loads. Yeah, it's pretty anemic, but there's all the 4 rifles, the Moisen with the 7.62 by 54R, the Enfield, the 303 British, the 30.06, the American 03A3, the American Mauser, and the German Mauser. In the Second World War, the German Mauser and the 30.06 were pretty much equals. In power-wise, in velocity, the 303 British was slightly inferior, and the 7.62 by 54R is in between the British Enfield 303 round and the 30.06 and 8 Mauser, power-wise. Very close though, but they're all full power battle rifle cartridges. Of the 4, I don't know, get sidetracked here. Chronograph, we did our accuracy test from 100 yards. I lost, it was super cold out that day though. I lost the footage of me doing the second, the 200-yard thing of me sitting on the bench. So in the video, it's only the 200-yard plate. I hit it 1 out of 3 times, guessing on where to hold. And the sights are really not, you know, not that good. The American and British rifles, the sights are superb. The Mauser is a distant 3rd, and the Moisen is, you know, 4th in my opinion. I had the accuracy target. I fired 8 shots, 2 groups. First shot was 5-shot group. I was aiming here, 6 o'clock on the bull. This is the first group up here, 5 shots. 2 are here in the head. That's 1 there, you know, a flyer. The other 2 missed the head, but that's at 100 yards. I inadvertently had the sights at 200 meters, so I cracked it back down to 100 meters, and I aimed below the target in a bunch of dirt, and the 3 shots printed here. So it's quite a bit of deviation. And the reason, I forgot when I researched this years ago, but the reason the Germans did that was like the average rifleman or infantryman could aim at a soldier's belt buckle out to 400 yards and hit the soldier, or have a chance of hitting the soldier. I'd rather it just be zeroed with the rear sight with the numerals, 100 meters, 100 meter point of impact, not, 16, 18 inches high. But if you are aiming at somebody's belt buckle or at 100 yards, you'd hit them up in the upper head area or upper chest. But in the shorter sight radius, that's the downside for the Mauser. Sights are up here on the front of the barrel, front of the receiver. For me to change the point of impact, I have to put a taller front sight post. I believe they can be obtained. I'd have to alter the rifle, because when you move the sight post taller, you bring the point of impact down. And then it's an experiment in filing, a couple of thousandths of an inch off to get it to zero. And then obviously the different bullet weights and loads are going to have different points of impact. So being this is a historic rifle, I'm just going to keep it original. That's just the way it is. You're going to shoot it. One of these days I'm going to take it out to long range and see how that 400 meter point blank range hold works out. Did the shooting off the bench. I lost the 200-yard footage of that, but the 100-yard footage of me off the bench is in there. You can see where the Mauser, a couple of cases, were sticky and hot. They don't want to extract. But the Mauser, with its massive caloric extractor, has a lot of torque and pulling ability. And that's why Mauser rifles are preferred, or Mauser actions are preferred for dangerous game. You get a hot, sticky case, like say you're hunting in Africa, you're going to get the case out of the gun. If you're where other rifles don't have that camming action and the claw to pull the round out. And they had to exert a lot of force to get the round down. I believe a couple of these steel case loads were, loaded on the hot side. A lot of variation. You feel when you fire the gun too. Did the comparative recoil with the 223. 223 is like shooting a BB gun. The Savage Axis is nothing there. Slightly more recoil with this, but you're talking about an almost 9-pound rifle. Even with this massive steel butt plate here, this has got the most beefy butt plate of all the 4 rifles. It's thick and very robust. I guess you could smash doors in with it or smash other things. The energy on the plates, I used a soft point on the for the Mauser round because I wasn't sure with this Romanian stuff if there's any steel in the jacket or the can. I didn't want to fly it back in, so I used a 170 grain soft point, but the energy is going to be the same. Instead of the, I have some 170 grain hand-loaded soft points, 2, proper European specs, pressure and velocity. Quite a bit more energy over the 223, as all the full battle rifle cartridges exhibited. The 4 rifles, the Moisen 37 million made, they're still encountered in battlefields to this day. The British Enfield, the Lee Enfield, the number 4 Mark 1, 17 million Enfields were manufactured of the different marks and number 4 Mark, Mark 3, number 2, they had a whole bunch of crazy numbering conventions. 17 million of them, they're still encountered on battlefields to this day. American troops encountered both the Moisen and the Enfield in Iraq and Afghanistan, and I'm sure in Iraq, because proximity to Iran, encountered K98 Mausers too. The only rifle of the 4 I'd say is probably not on the battlefields, unless it's a exotic outlier, is the 03A3, made an American rifle, and 14.6 million of these K90 these Mausers were made. The Gewehr, the long barrel version, and then as they approached World War II, the Kurz, the short barrel version. The long barrel version was 30-inch barrel, straight bolt handle. Then they bent the bolt handle like these, and then they come to the K98s, 23.5 inches, 23.6 inches. You see different figures. The 03A3, least produced, 3 million of them. And they're mostly kicking around in American homes and collectors' safes and such. They're used in competition too, in NRA high power. Because I used to shoot that, I used to shoot the Grand, and I never shot the 03 at the matches, but the previous owner, my friend's father that passed away, he shot NRA high power, and he shot both the 03 and the Grand on the course. The Mauser is such a fine action that the English gunmaker Rigby makes a Magnum version of this. So does the Yugoslavians and a few others. The Serbians now, I guess, they have the armament factory. It's a longer version. It handles 375 H&H linked Magnum cartridges. And Serbia, or Yugoslavia, also made a mini Mauser, a rifle scaled for a 223, 7.62 by 39, smaller cartridges, smaller receiver, everything's like miniaturized. Interesting little guns. They were made or imported by Charles Daly for decades, and then for a while Remington was importing them under their banner when they were owned by the hedge fund company. I guess in 7.62 by 39 and 5.56 NATO or 223. Did the accuracy, did the energy. I did 5 shots offhand, and I had the camera overall scene. I was trying to guess where to hold on the various plates, and obviously there's aiming errors. But I tagged a few of the plates with the Mauser. The plates range from 12-inch square. Round plates are 8 inches, all the way out. The one at the 100 yards, I believe, is 10 inches, close to the ground. I hit one of the rocks or whatever. But I showed the gun cycling. It cycles nicely. It's a lot smoother than the Mosin, and Mauser actions are. The 03 is smooth. This is smooth, and the British Enfield is smooth. Really refined. Did the thermal effects test right before this summary here, right before the snow. I had 5 jugs of water lined up. I had a fresh, clean piece of plywood in the front, behind the first water jug. And I had jug 2. Between 2 and 3, I had a witness board, the thin fiber board. Then I had, I believe, another piece of plywood between 3 and 4. And then plywood and a 5th jug in the back. Hit the first jug, it started destabilizing, because when I went through the plywood, I showed when I was doing the little explanation, the autopsy, you can see it's starting to expand coming out. So that means the bullet's starting to tumble. Vaporized the second water jug. It must have been going sideways, dumped all of its energy, and just shredded the thing. Between the witness board, it was already way off course. I brought it in. This is the entrance. This is the exit. You can see it's clearly going sideways, the projectile. It's 170 grain. So through the. Looks like it remained intact though. It didn't bust up. The 06 fragmented up into 2 or 3 or 4 pieces. Hit the third water jug, blew the crap out of that, and obviously veered off the table. Didn't hit the plywood. I had plywood extending, out from each side. Missed that completely, so it just was flipping and off to the right. I guess that's a product of the twist, the rifling twist. All these rifles have right-hand rifling twist, so when you're looking from the back, the bullet's spinning clockwise. The Enfield's the only outlier. It's left-hand twist. The bullet's spinning counterclockwise as you're firing downrange. So I guess after it starts flipping, because it's spinning, it's biased to go to the right. But a flipping projectile like that would be, massive wounding effect. If you had 2 soldiers in a row, the one standing right behind the first one as a bullet went through would get the worst of it. Because it did tumble. It's all historic arms. Obviously they participated in a lot of mass murder. and mass chaos in the world wars. But today they exist as, you know, fun little collectible rifle. If you inherit one of these, you get a very fine rifle. Take it out and shoot it once in a while recreationally, which is what I do. You know, if it was your only firearm, could it serve as a good defensive armament? Yes. If you practice with it, you can defend yourself with this in your house or in your property. But in your house, obviously, all these rifles are going to punch through any human adversary. So you got to keep that in mind, and your backstop. If you know, if you had such a self-defense encounter on your home, on your property, you know, obviously, if you're outside, and you know, with the rule of law and a functioning government, you know, it'd have to be some specific situation where you'd be justified. But it's not a, you know, it was a military small arm, and it was, you know, used to great effect, and it's still knocking around the battlefields today. Yugoslavians manufactured this. The action is very slightly shorter, like a quarter of an inch. That's the difference, but it's a larger ring Mauser. They're manufactured under many contracts and licenses, you know, doing its run there. The Germans, you know, Nazi Germany, this is a Nazi Germany manufactured rifle. 35 to 45, 11 million they produced with the various factories. You know, Mauser factory, Steyr, like I said, Gustloff-Werke. They mostly got parts and had the slave labor from Buchenwald assemble the rifles. You know, some of them I guess were sabotaged. This one is, you know, apparently a good production run, but the factory was never very efficient. It was supposed to be a model of Nazi socialism, you know, but the regular private factories like Mauser and Steyr, you know, before the war, were far superior and efficient manufacturing the weapons. The model of National Socialism efficiency, the Gustloff-Werke, was way behind. You know, they extremely inefficient, like all socialist projects are, very inefficient. You know, and of course they had to use, you know, the awful evil of, you know, enslaving people and force them to work in your factories, and then murdering them. You know, murdered them in a concentration camp right next door to this factory. So never forget that. A lot of evil in the world, a lot of good people in the world. Guns an inanimate object. You know, it depends on whose hands it's in. Good guys or bad guys. And the American Mauser was in World War II. I don't know how many served other than sniper rifles in Europe. They're mainly in the Pacific area with the Marines, because the Army got all the good stuff. My father-in-law, I forgot to say, he carried the Garand for like the last 3 or 4 weeks in Guadalcanal because the Army had come to relieve the Marines, and the Japanese attacked the Army and they dropped their rifles and retreated. So my father-in-law got a Garand that way, and he carried that for the last couple of weeks in Guadalcanal. Then they were evacuated to New Zealand to train for Taura. Fortunately for him, he came down with severe malaria, and because of that, he had to be evacuated. But the rest of his platoon, most of them were killed on Taura, the invasion of Taura. My father-in-law was in a hospital for like, I don't know, 4 months or whatever. He was evacuated back to the United States, and he came to live a good life and have 8 children. So, you know, it's funny how life works out. And all his buddies didn't come home. You know, they were killed in bloody Taura. That's another nightmare. But that's it for this series. I hope you found it interesting. I try and mix the history of things into this. No, not just a gun. You can watch any video shooting a Mauser. There's a million Mauser videos, I'm sure. I'm a little bit of a historian too. And I'm a generalist. I like firearms of all types. Sporting firearms, handguns, military pattern arms, you know, modern, older stuff like this. The old stuff like this is really beautifully built, even for a military arm. You know, bluing's nice, and you don't see that old world craftsmanship anymore. And pride in what they do. And I forgot to mention, of all the 4 rifles, this had the heaviest trigger and the most slop. So, I guess because it was built with Gustloff-Werks, you know. I don't have a DWM, Mauser manufactured in '98, but maybe it's got a better trigger on it. But with that, I'm going to end this video. I'm Old Gun Guy, and if you like the content, like, share, and subscribe. Make comments, and if they get notified. If I can get back to you, I will. If you get any questions. Good day.